Almost didn't unmute. Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of Live from the Kingdom. My name is Paul Inman, and I am happy that you are joining us once again in this live stream where we have special guest authors from Keys to the Kingdom. We talk about some behind the scenes stories, get some sneak peeks, and maybe some insight into the anthology and the world of dollar babies and anything else we feel like talking about. I have my friend and yours, hopefully, with me today. His name is, you ready for this? Billy Sticks Hanson. Come on up, Sticks. Totally muted. Dude.
How dare you?
Listen, I had to do it. You cannot give me anything. You can't tell me anything.
Yeah.
But now everybody needs to know.
Yeah, no. We're gonna glide right past that one.
Oh man, look! I even made a sticky note.
Yeah.
See?
Oh wow, you did.
Because I was like, I can't forget.
Yeah.
Welcome, Billy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Today,
good. It's
if
been
you're
a good
watching
day.
this live, thank you for being here live. For those of you who are, we're gonna hop right into the chat real quick. And we got Mr. Ben Higgins, Survivor Type is certainly, that's right, this is a special Survivor Type episode, if you want to think of it that way. Certainly one of Stephen King's strongest short stories. And
I agree.
I recently saw an interview that's actually very old with Stephen King that said it is his favorite short story. We got Bolin. Yo,
what's
happy
up,
Wednesday.
Bolin?
And we got Lisa in the house. Hello, welcome,
Lisa.
Adam is here too. Hey, Adam, how you doing, buddy? Hey,
it's a party.
Here's a funny story. You had asked me before we came on, like it's my spring break. And hey, Karen, welcome. Appreciate you being here. So you had asked, what am I doing for spring break? Actually, Ben and Adam and I and Kim, my wife, we went and we picked strawberries a few days ago, and we got so many strawberries. Billy.
Oh, that's kind of amazing. That's the springest thing to do. You did send me a picture. That's right. I saw that, and I was a little jealous because it looked really good.
And they were good. Most of them are gone at this point, because
that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So today's April 23rd, if you're watching live, and here's a fun fact. 4 years ago today, Ben, you might know this. 4 years ago today, That Feeling, which is the dollar baby that I made, the trailer dropped 4 years ago today, April 23rd.
Nice.
And I think it's online somewhere if you ever want to check it out.
That's awesome.
God, yeah,
man. 4 years ago seems like a long time, but my dollar baby was 12 years ago.
Well, guess what?
Yeah,
I mean, the only one 12 years ago, right?
That's correct. That is correct. Solid segue. So
I've done this before, maybe.
Yeah, I know. I feel like it. So the guy that we're going to have on with us tonight is a name that I've known for a very long time, for all of those 12 years, pretty much, because when I made my dollar baby adaptation, it's 13 years ago, not 12 years ago.
Oh, dude, time.
Well, yeah. I'm going to pretend it's 12. Excuse me. When I put my dollar baby out, one of the first names that I heard was this guy's name, because he had also made a Survivor type adaptation and had it out doing the festival circuit. And we ended up screening the very first time that I screened it. I wasn't able to go, but it was at the Atlanta Horror Film Festival, I think. It was in Atlanta. And he was there, and we got in touch with each other. We were like, oh, it's so cool. Not only did they play both of our versions of Survivor Type, they played them like back to back in the same block. That's so awesome. It was really cool. The crowd got to see two very different adaptations of the same story, and I really wish I'd been in there for it. But yeah, I finally got to meet him out at King Con for the first time, and both of us were like, oh my God, I get to see you in the flesh. But yeah, very excited to chat today with Chris Ethridge.
Welcome. Appreciate you being here, man. You're muted.
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. That's kind of, we should just rename this to call you're muted, The best part is you're still muted. That's the best.
Yeah.
Maybe I can help you. Let me see.
I got it. Sorry. Looking in the wrong place.
Welcome, man. How's it going?
Yeah, I was sitting there doing the math going, I think it's more than 12.
I think I got used to saying 12 and then thought about it for a second. Like, wait.
That was a really interesting experience to like watch them back to back and then have the audience talk about, almost like the art of adaptation and the different choices that they made. I live in Atlanta, so that's why I was able to attend. It was a little easier for me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that would have been tougher to fly across the country for it.
Right.
So we all met for the first time at KingCon. So you were telling me when we were at KingCon that you had a kind of unique experience in that community. So tell everybody a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I already had my ticket before they even announced Dollar Babies were going to be part of it, because I have a small, modest collection of signed limited edition books. I've bought several books from Chris Webster. You know, like I was already sort of in that world, and as soon as they announced it, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to that for sure. You know, and
for those that don't know, KingCon was sort of started out in this kind of limited edition books world. That's where they kind of started. Chris Webster is a guy who sort of is maybe a dealer in that world. Is that?
Yeah,
he's
a bookseller. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it was a really cool experience. What was something that stood out to you when we were in Vegas?
Well, I'm gonna slide back to Survivor Type here for a second.
Oh, no, go please.
Because you guys had there was a panel, and Billy was on the panel, and he starts telling this story, the story about the leg prop.
Oh yeah, I remember.
You know what I'm talking about. And I swear, with the exception of that metal bar, I could have told that exact same story word for word. Like it was incredible. I was like, like that's exactly what, because you had the one prop, and of course it's an expensive prop, and we're talking budget films, and so you get one shot at it, and so you got your story about the bone wouldn't break, so you got an interesting different. I did not have the bone. We just had a tube running straight down the rubber thing. And you're just praying that you got cameras, you got as many cameras as you can get, and you're just praying that it goes well. And we got lucky too, but it was just one of those things where I was sweating it exactly the same way. Exactly.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's an anecdote that I tell a lot, because it's one of the best moments in the movie. In my adaptation, like it's so jarring for a crowd because it's very in your face.
Yeah.
The whole idea being like found footage, you can't cut away. And or the second you do any clever editing, it's like the effect is done.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had one take of him just sitting there and going at it, and we realized that bone wasn't breaking in the middle of the thing like it was supposed to. Yeah. And so like I can't do anything. I just have to trust that he knows what he's doing. But yeah, it was. I think, thankfully, it remains one of the most effective parts of the movie. But I remember being like pure terror in that moment.
For sure.
I'm almost glad that you had the same experience.
Yeah, no, fair. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was great. I did have the luxury of I would cut back to his face and cut. I did get was able to do that a little bit, but yeah, no, it was absolutely terrifying. Absolutely, when your whole movie like that's the key moment, like that, or one of them anyway. But it's just when the whole thing hinges on that, you're like, wow, I really don't know what I'm gonna do if this goes sideways.
Yeah,
and real clever with it. Yeah, anybody out there hasn't seen these adaptations, because Dollar Babies are sort of hard to get your hands on. Read the story, and you could use your imagination, because this one is a vivid story if you've never read it. Like Ben said before, it's one of King's strongest short stories.
And even King himself said that one goes a little too far.
Yeah. That's the quote I always come to. Yeah,
that's one of my favorite ones of his. And I don't know about you, like when I chose that story to do, it was because I was reading it one night. I'd heard about it, but I hadn't actually sat down to read it. And I opened up the book one night and I started reading it, and I finished the whole thing, and I closed the book, and I was like, I can't, there's no way I'm going to sleep right now. It just was like thinking about it all night. And so the next day I looked it up, and it was on that Dollar Baby list. And I said, all right, I got to figure out how to do this. But it was such an impactful story. And I don't think I've ever been as like physically affected by a story as I was with that one.
For sure. I had read it. I mean, I had read it many times. I read it in high school, I'm sure, initially. And so when I was looking at the list, I was like, oh, it's that one. Like, and I made it with my friend Stacy Palmer. And so she was leaning towards I Am the Doorway, but I was like, let me convince you. and we ended up making that one. So yeah.
Ah, it's so cool. Yeah, and it was the right choice. I still think I look at that as one of the best like experiences of my career so far, which is,
right.
not I don't have that many big projects that I've done, but that one is one. I can't believe we're still talking about these movies, 13 years later.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. No, very true. Very true.
And I agree. Such a cool story. Such a cool story. All of it, the actual story and the story of the
stories behind the story.
Yeah,
the dueling adaptations. Yeah, not
right.
dueling.
Not
the working in tandem adaptations.
Yeah.
But I think visions. That's all it really is.
It's really interesting because again, we like it's almost unheard of that you have multiple adaptations of different projects, right? But usually they're years apart, and usually it's a brought into different time period, and the fact that these were made basically the same time, like within months of each other, like it's just an interesting sort of unusual dynamic around an adaptation.
Yeah, and you get to see really like two very different ways of approaching the same material, and it is really interesting to watch how they both play out because they're both good, they're both engaging, they're both traumatizing, God, I would have loved to have been in that Atlanta crowd that watched them back to back. We'll have to figure out how to make that happen.
I'm sure we could. I'm sure we could do that again in a festival somewhere. I mean, that's the nice thing is that, we have these King festivals every now and then that pop up for dollar babies, and you can do that with several different titles. Like it's
for sure.
Yeah. And I know a guy. So speaking of stories, let's pivot and talk about the book Keys to the Kingdom. It's just me here. I inadvertently skipped over talking about the book, but hey, this conversation is awesome. Keys to the Kingdom. If you haven't, obviously pick up a copy or two or three. Just this week, actually, Billy and I got to go on somebody else's show, which is coming sometime in the near future. And we were just talking about the book itself and how awesome it is and how these stories are just really amazing stories and storytellers that are in this book, encourage somebody to help support this, because we need to get to that 750 to make this a reality through Inkshares, right? So without further ado, we have a sneaky peek that we would like to share, right Chris?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to bring it up. Chris, why don't you do the honors by telling them the exclusive name and then read the log line for them.
Okay. Miss the Mark. An angry puzzle maker sets up a bloody Rube Goldberg machine for his victim, but things go disastrously wrong.
Ooh, disastrously wrong. I love it. So
honestly, you have me at angry puzzle maker.
Right. Exactly. Right.
That's really cool.
Dude, that's me anytime we get a puzzle for Christmas. I'm just an angry puzzle maker because I don't like doing puzzles. Kim's like, oh, I love puzzles. I'm like, I sit there and brood because I'm like, this piece doesn't fit with that piece. I'm just bad at it. But going back to your story, Mr. Mark. Sorry, I tangent. Mr. Mark. What kind of inspiration here? Because we don't want to give away too much of the actual story. And like half of the story is that thing. So basically I actually started when you guys asked me to do this. I actually was terrified, and I'm like, okay, good. That's a good, when you fear something, or you're like, you should probably say yes to this because this is good for you. This is I haven't written prose in decades, literally. So I've written plenty of screenplays, but not prose. So I had one idea that was very small town. I was like, come on, Stephen King, we'll do a small town thing, we'll do something. And then and it was fine, but it was like half of an idea, and I didn't love it, and I was like, I don't know. And then this idea showed up. I saw, I just happened to see a cartoon, and then put a couple of things together in my head at the same time, and just how it goes, bam, you're like, there it is, that's the one. And so I pivoted and went to this idea instead. I'm glad I did. This is coming out, I think pretty well. It's not quite finished. I'm a very, very slow writer. You guys will get it like
like 11:59 on May 1st, I think is probably what's going to happen.
Perfect.
Exactly.
I had a really similar situation when I went back into prose, because I had done screenplays for a long time,
Right.
and I was getting like just frustrated that nothing was happening. So I had this idea for a story, and I just like sat down and wrote it, like just for whatever, to sort of get it out. And that like unlocked something in me where like that story wasn't my favorite, but I went to the next story, and that was the one that was like, oh, this is something. Now I got it.
Nice.
So it's something about like cracking open the old, dusting off those old tricks and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And then coming back to it and moving forward. But yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, opening the door, man. That's always great. So
yeah.
Hey Debbie, how you doing? Thanks for being here. So tell us a little bit about what it's been like, your experience coming back to prose. Like,
yeah, right. It's interesting. I've been able to like kind of like lean on and remind myself that you really do, when you're writing descriptions and scripts, it really is prose to a certain degree anyway, right? But it's been a little bit of a mental adjustment, right? Like just like literally, okay. In fact, one of the things, the second part of my story is very visual, like it's very just like it has to be described really well in order for it to make sense for the reader. So I've been like really working on that element of writing and trying to make sure that I'm describing this very visual concept as well as I can, so that it makes sense for the person reading it. And this is going to be it's a ridiculous story. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at the first half I put in the thing there, but it just kind of a ridiculous concept, and it's fun, and that's really what I hope people get out of it when they're done with it. They're like, oh, that was a lot of fun, so we'll see.
Of course.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. And Karen says, you never know when inspiration will strike. Great stories happen when it is time. And that's 100%. So true. But you can sort of, in my experience, you can sort of massage it. You know what I mean? Like, so if you are a person who is a creature of habit, right? Sort of like Billy was saying, you wrote the first one and opened the door for the next one, and so on and so forth. If you kind of have this, quasi discipline to the writing, you will find that instead of waiting for the muse to tell you it's right, you can just get in there. And that doesn't mean everything's always going to be great, but it also doesn't mean you got to sit around and wait either.
Yeah, I think that's really like a key thing, right? Is you just have to sit down and do the work, and you have to fill the blank page, right? That's the thing. Do that, and it may be terrible. Like, it's often terrible, the first draft, right? And then you can go fix it, but you have to do the work, and you have to show up to do the work, and that's really key.
Yeah. So I saw something that said it was something like inspiration and work. Discipline. I can't remember what it was like, but anyway, something plus something equals success. So there you go. That's my takeaway. Please quote me on that.
Can we get a poster of that one?
Yeah. That's going on the front of the book. That's the first quote that opens the book.
That's what you read. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God. The problem is it's like I'm on the East Coast and it's late because I don't, I'm not a late person usually, and I'm tired, guys. That's how
I get it. I get it. This is a lot to manage too.
Yeah,
Paul's the one managing all this stuff.
That's right. You're pushing all the buttons and sliding things around. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's why half the time I'm muted and don't even know it. That's cool, man. So what have you been working on? We're kind of probably going to start wrapping it here, but what have you been working on lately?
So I wrote a script. I wrote a script called "These Colors Don't Run," and it's been doing real well in festival competitions. And I'm in pre-production. We're shooting that in 3.5 weeks. So
nice.
Yeah.
I feel like I just saw recently that you won an award for that. Is that
so probably the most interesting award I've won in a while. Outside of I won the best short screenplay at Nightmares Film Festival, and then more recently, as in like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I won best short screenplay at the the International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival, which is part of the Phoenix Film Festival.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Do you guys know that one? Are you familiar with that festival?
I've heard of it. Yes.
It's neat because the Phoenix Film Festival is a big city festival, just like any other big city festival, but they actually have a runs concurrent genre festival. So
cool.
Yeah, so they do not and it's all in the same theaters. Like it's all, it's all part of it. It just happens to have its own sort of name and branch of it. But it's really cool because they take genre very seriously at that festival, and that's not always true of some of the bigger city festivals.
Right. But I think that it's cool that there's another one that the name is gone, but it's sort of has the same idea. It has its own track for the genre films, and that's a pretty cool idea, honestly.
Yeah.
Julia, what's up? I'm so excited to read Chris's story.
Thank you.
Yes. So speaking of your story, let's hop back in and let's read the log line one more time. And remember, you can read this story only in Keys to the Kingdom. So make sure you get a copy or 2 or 3, because if you get 3, you get your name in the back of the book as a thank you.
That's right.
Go ahead, Chris.
That's
All right,
true.
miss the mark. An angry puzzle maker sets up a bloody Rube Goldberg machine for his victim, but things go disastrously wrong.
Yes, excellent.
We need some good bloody stories in this one.
That's what I'm saying,
We're gonna have some good bloody ones.
Yeah. So
I should have known with the other director of Survivor Type it was gonna be a good bloody one.
That is funny.
Yeah.
So let's take a look. If you want to follow Chris online, Chris Ethridge Film, at least on Instagram, is that correct?
Yeah, and Facebook. Yeah.
And Facebook?
Yeah.
And
Threads too, I think. Not that I go on Threads that often, but it's there.
Yeah. My name is Paul Inman, and that's me at Paul Inman SC, and that's Billy Hanson, Billy Sticks Hanson. Attaboy Billy, atta.boy.billy. You're gonna kill me, man. I know it. Next week. Oh wait, no, there's one more thing because I always forget every single week. I'm not gonna forget this time. Maybe I am.
Facebook.
That's right.
Yeah, if you want to follow us on Facebook, Keys to the Kingdom, about the book, facebook.com/Keys to the Kingdom 2025. Please do that. The awesome people at StephenKingShortMovies.com set this up for us, and they are super huge supporters. Go follow us there if you have Facebook.
They're keeping everything updated as we're going, so it's really cool to see them do that for us.
Yeah, and if you want to, somewhere around here, I can't find it. There it is. Keys to the Kingdom. Inkshares.com/books, keys-to-the-kingdom. Go support our amazing book. It's shaping up to be so. You've heard me say it. All right, next week we have the amazing Dr. Robert Cochran, who we all actually also met.
Yeah.
Surprise. Spoiler, at KingCon.
At the strip club. Oh, KingCon.
Yeah,
Yes.
so next week, Dr. Robert Cochran's going to be with us. We appreciate you coming and hanging with us every Wednesday. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, appreciate you coming, hanging with us every Wednesday here for these live streams. If you want to go back, we have a back catalog now. This is actually episode number 7, and you can go watch the other 6 episodes if you missed them on YouTube, or you can find them on Facebook. Or if you really, really, really want to, somewhere on this ticker, there is our email. You can email us, and we will send you direct links. There it is, dbanthology@gmail.com. For Chris Ethridge and Mr. Billy Hanson, my name is Paul Inman. We appreciate you, and we hope we will see you next week. Tell some friends about Keys to the Kingdom. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.